Welcome back to the Birdhouse Dynasty Show and tonight's Week 13 recap and our Week 14 preview. So, what can we start with other than that? Joe put on last night, Monday night, Jameis Winston action. Oh my goodness. Hopefully, you had a piece of that Cleveland offense because, man, anytime Jameis is firing it, you got to have something going on there. Now, for any of our new viewers, please remember to click the like and subscribe. Please check me out on the Patreon at patreon.com/Birdhouse Dynasty Show or with any of your questions, especially this week with week 14 coming up and then our fantasy playoffs. Maybe some of you are in your fantasy playoffs this week, or it is like a playoff game because you need to get in and win to get in. So, any questions, just throw me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Birdhouse Dynasty Show. Now, let's get back into that Cleveland Denver game last night. Oh my, here we go. Here's the box score for y'all. Man, what can I say about Jameis Winston that hasn't already been said? If that wasn't the most Jameis Winston games of Jameis Winston, I don't know what to say. 4 touchdowns, 2 pick sixes, 497 yards, 58 attempts, right into the teeth of that Denver secondary that's been touted all season long. Patrick Surtain, all the great defensive backs there, the great defense all around for Denver. Jameis said, I don't care. I'm throwing it right into you guys. And he threw it to the tune of 497 yards. Jerry Jeudy loving every minute of it, other than the final result, which was a Denver victory. But I mean, for Jerry Jeudy, catching that 70-yard bomb had to be one of the greatest moments of his life. Going back to Denver, the team that kicked him out of town, sent him to the NFL wasteland. That is Cleveland. Jeudy finished the night with 9 for 235 on 13 targets and the 70-yard touchdown. Elijah Moore goes 8 for 111 on 14 targets. David Njoku, 9 for just 52, but 2 touchdowns on 17 targets. My God. All right. Over to the Denver side of the ball. We had Bo Nix. Wasn't the greatest performance from Bo, but he still put up 294 yards and a touchdown, 2 picks for Mr. Nix. Marvin Mims with the touchdown, a 93-yarder. This game was just bonkers. We had Cortland Sutton going 6 for 102, so Cortland Sutton stays on track. The Denver running game was led by Jaleel McLaughlin, of all people, 14 for 84. Javonte Williams got into the end zone, finished the night with 4 carries for a single yard. So I think the Javonte Williams era is just about done in Denver. I don't know. Week to week, it's somebody new there in Denver. Cleveland didn't really run the ball much either, but they ended up with Jerome Ford leading the way, 41 yards on 9 carries. Nick Chubb, 21 yards on 9 carries. Chubb did get into the end zone on a receiving touchdown to save his night. Oh, that was exhausting watching it and just talking about it now. All right, let's move on to the fun that was the Sunday night game. And the Buffalo Bills just absolutely steamrolling the San Francisco 49ers, who also lost Christian McCaffrey on the night. Big news for fantasy owners. So we found out earlier yesterday that it ended up being a PCL sprain, which will knock him out for 6 weeks. So unless the Niners make it to the second round of the playoffs, that should do it for McCaffrey's season. Hopefully, too many of you didn't trade for him this last week, like myself in one league, but that's what happens, right? It is fantasy football. And again, it is football, and the guys get hurt. So, simple facts, death taxes, and guys get hurt playing the game of football. Plan for it. Don't cry about it when your guys get hurt. So, Brock Purdy, not much in his return, 11 for 18, 94 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Jordan Mason filling in for the injured McCaffrey, 13 rushes, 78 yards. And more importantly, he also hurt his ankle. So now Isaac Guerrero gets to lead the show in the 49ers backfield. They also traded for Izzy Abanikanda earlier today, actually picked him up off of waivers. You also have Patrick Taylor there if you want to grab some scraps off the waiver wire heap. That's what you've got going on there. Man, it was ugly for the Niners. Deebo Samuel, 4 for 20. Didn't get any rushing attempts, which was a little bit of a surprise. But man, Juwan Jennings leading the way, 3 for 56. And Ricky Pearsall doing absolutely nada. For the Buffalo Bills, you had all the spoils going to the anointed one, Josh Allen, who just is lighting up the scoreboard now, paving his way to another MVP trophy. 13 for 17, just 148 through the air, but 2 touchdowns. One of those credited to himself. So, yes, you got credit for 2 touchdowns on one play. It was a little dump off to Amari Cooper on a goal to go play. And so Cooper was at the 5 yard line, got pushed backwards, and then flipped it to Allen, who went ahead and dove into the corner of the end zone, getting his own touchdown, getting credit for it, at least his own touchdown reception. I haven't seen that happen since Marcus Mariota did it on a play that was uh, batted back by a defensive lineman. He caught it and ran it in. Josh Allen made it look way more fun. Um, and you've got James Cook steamrolling 65 yards for another touchdown, finished the night with 107 yards on 14 carries. Ray Davis also got into the fun. He ran one in, and then Josh Allen also ran one in himself. So Allen getting credit for 4 touchdowns on the night. Like I said earlier, just paving his way to another MVP campaign here. Lamar was looking like the front runner for a while. Then it was Saquon. Now Josh Allen. I wouldn't take anything from Saquon yet because we will talk about him in just a minute here. But as for the Bills receivers, it was rough going in the snow there. So Dawson Knox had a nice 39-yard scamper catch and run there where he's bulldozing a few players. He finished the night with 2 for 56. Khalil Shakir did his thing, 4 for 30 over the middle, just not much volume. Shakir did lead the way with 7 targets, so that wasn't shocking. But yeah, Buffalo just staying right on the heels of the Chiefs to hopefully get the 1 seed in the AFC. They're 1 game back, but remember, they were the ones to beat the Chiefs, so they have the tiebreaker with them. All right. Next up, we will hit up that Philadelphia game as the Eagles traveled to Baltimore for a big one, the late afternoon match. And yes, Saquon. He can't be stopped right now. I mean, what can I say? 23 for 107, had a 25-yard touchdown. Um, just wow. Saquon is doing everything a running back could possibly do. Between him and Derrick Henry, I believe I heard that they are both yardage wise, after week 13, these two are further ahead than anybody else has been. There's never been two running backs at once after week 13 with as much output as these two guys. Now, hopefully, you were not down on Saquon. I was up on him in the offseason. Now, it's not like I traded for him in every single one of my dynasty formats, but I did. I was able to get him in a few leagues, and I am benefiting from that. Hopefully, you were able to do that as well. Dynasty startups. I know I hit on Henry late because of his age, and who are we kidding here? The guy doesn't age, does he? All right, but back to Saquon. I mean, dude, this guy. All right, there we go. Now y'all can see it. Okay, let's roll down here. The last few weeks have just been like he just keeps getting better every week, right? I mean, yeah, he had 255 last week, but this was a much better Ravens defense. Um, and so look at the last, we'll go since the bye. Okay, so he had a rough outing against Cleveland, but starting with the Giants revenge game, 176, 108, 159, 66 against Dallas as he sat out like the whole second half. 146, 255, then 107 on Sunday. This guy is just on a tear. So if there's ever been a running back since Adrian Peterson's MVP season, this is it for Saquon. Man, he is showing why the Giants took him as the number 2 overall pick back what was it, 6 years ago, 6 years ago out of Penn State. And there's, I can't stop screaming about Saquon. All right. Everybody is talking about Saquon. A lot of your trade deadlines have passed now. We'll get into a couple of late trade deadline moves as we get across. There was one with Garrett Wilson, one with Kyler Murray. We'll touch on those when we get to those games. But let's finish up with the rest of the players in the Eagles Ravens game. So Jalen Hurts, 11 for 19, 118, one touchdown, no picks. He added 29 and a touchdown on the ground. AJ Brown, 5 for 66. Dallas Goedert, 3 for 35 and a touchdown, but did injure his knee. So keep that in mind this week when filling out your starting lineup. So there are a lot of buys this week. So this is as I mentioned earlier, some people, this is a de facto playoff game. Before the real playoffs may start next week in a lot of leagues. So, yeah, your lineups may be getting thin. There's 6 solid teams on bye. I mean, every team's got a good quarterback basically that's been getting you some points at different times during this year. I mean, you've got up top Lamar Jackson and Jaden Daniels on bye, then Anthony Richardson, Drake May. Um, who am I missing here? There's trying to think of the other 2 buys. Denver, you've got Bo Nix. So yeah, a lot of solid teams on bye this week. Okay. Over on the Baltimore side, Lamar, numbers don't look too bad, but he just really couldn't get the flow going for the Baltimore offense. He ended up 23 of 36 for 237, 2 touchdowns, no picks, added 79 on the ground. Henry had 82 on the ground. The numbers look good, but again, the Ravens just could not could not penetrate that Eagles defense any further to do any real damage. Um, just checking down here quick. I mean, Justin Tucker missing 2 field goals didn't help things, but, just a disappointing game for the 8-5 Ravens now. Um, in the air, you had the tight end duo doing some damage. Mark Andrews, 6 for 67 with a touchdown. Isaiah Likely, 5 for 38 with a touchdown. And Zay Flowers, 3 for 74 through the air. Rashad Bateman went out with an injury, so watch that if you're in a deeper league and need to play him. Um, Probably not going to be available this week. And Deontay Johnson just cut him. I mean, I wouldn't cut him in Dynasty, but man, in redraft, forget about it. There's no need. And the Ravens are on bye this week too, so just one of the reasons that it's going to be a real thin week for y'all out there. All right, let's move on to the what do we want to go to? Yeah, let's knock this one out of the way here. We got the Rams and Saints here, so not a whole lot of excitement here. I'll just do it real quickly. Kamara, you basically got a floor game out of him. I mean, 112 on the ground and 4 for 7 through the air. So, yeah, typical floor game for him. Taysom Hill, the big news here with his ugly knee injury. So, that's not great for you, Taysom Hill people out there, especially with this bye. Over to the Rams. Stafford didn't look great, but got the job done. 183 yards and 2 touchdowns. Injured his ankle, but he should be ready to go. Kyron Williams doing his thing, 104 yards and a touchdown. Um, and then the Rams receivers. Cup didn't have a great week, but I wouldn't let that get to you. Still start him with confidence. Demarcus Robinson did go out with an injury, so you'll have to monitor that. I don't think he'll be able to go this week. He did get in the end zone, had 2 for 49, and Puka led the way with 5 for 56 and a touchdown. So Rams offense was efficient, not spectacular, but got the job done. They moved on to 6-6 and got out of there, got out of New Orleans with a win. Let's move on to something a little more exciting, hopefully. Yeah, yeah. Let's check out the old Buccaneers rolled into Carolina, looking to get a second win in a row after losing 4 straight. And Baker didn't look spectacular. This was Bucks got bailed out by a strip and a fumble recovery in overtime, which they converted them into the game-winning field goal. It was Bucky Irving, though. That was the story. 25 for 152 and a touchdown. Rashad White wasn't terrible. 11 for 76 isn't too shabby himself. But the key is the touches. I mean, look here. Bucky even out caught him. And Rashad White's main thing is catching the ball out in space. So if Bucky's out catching him, man, I gotta roll with Bucky going forward with confidence. The Bucks have a very nice schedule these last 6 games, and so our last 5 games. So keep that in mind when filling out your starting lineups. Now, if you have Bucky, I'm sure you got him cheap, and so this is just gravy at this point with him. But start Bucky with confidence. I'll say that. Mike Evans back in action, 8 for 118 and a touchdown. The second game back after his injury. Evans doing the things that we were hoping to see. Keep in mind, Evans is chasing that 1,000-yard season for 11 years in a row, trying to tie Jerry Rice for that. And He is, I believe, just a hair over 500 yards away and 5 games remaining. So expect Baker to try and help Evans get to that mark. Not much else going on. Kate Otten, just 4 for 20. Um, don't bank on Otten. I mean, if you roster constructed so you're light at tight end, I mean, go ahead and start Otten if that's what you got going on. But with the buys and Taysom Hill injury, I can understand maybe needing Otten because it's going to be week to week. I mean, without Godwin, there's really nobody else that the defenses are paying any attention to. So, um, yeah, Otten's not a terrible play, even though he didn't do much. Over to the Carolina side, we did see good things from Bryce Young. Once again, that's 2 weeks in a row now. Even in losses against Kansas City and Tampa, Bryce Young has definitely taken a step forward. We'll put it that way. All right. I'm not anointing him by any means. I'm just saying that he actually looks competent at this point. And so he has progressed since the benching, and Dave Canales is obviously working with him. And so, Adam Thielen definitely getting the benefits of that. 8 for 99 and a touchdown. Should have had another touchdown there. I think the refs blew that call because his knee was in, and I believe his shoulder fell in as well in the back of the end zone there. But anyway, Chuba Hubbard, not a great day, had the big fumble in overtime, just 12 for 43 on the ground. Jonathan Brooks is the interesting note here as he got more involved in the action, 6 for 18 on the ground, as well as 3 for 23 on the air. So 41 total yards for Brooks on the day. Expect his workload to at least be that going forward. Again, game flow, game script should determine that, but I think the Panthers want to go with a two-headed monster here, and Brooks looks healthy. So, no, not showing any real effects of that injury that kept him out the first half of the season. So, let's move on to the next game. And what do we got here? We'll knock out the Chargers Falcons. Eh? All right. This one wasn't pretty. And as I got on the thumbnail, man, I don't know what's going down in A Town, but it ain't Kirk Cousins. And man, I felt bad for the guy when they drafted Penix, but he's not doing much to keep him off the bench at this point. Cousins has a revenge game against Minnesota coming up this week, and if he shits the bed, man, I would not be shocked if Penix gets a start the following week because Atlanta is losing control of the South right now, and this is a team that was poised to win the South just a couple weeks ago, especially with 2 victories over Tampa already. So they own the tiebreaker, but we've got 2 teams going in different directions here. Tampa's got a nice schedule, Atlanta with a middling schedule, we'll say. Um, but Cousins, eesh, eesh. I get it. If your roster construction has Cousins as one of your top 2 quarterbacks, you got to play him, right? But if you have other options, I wouldn't blame you for sticking them in there. Place of Cousins at this point. Bijan, 102 on the ground, added 33 through the air on 6 catches. Ray McLeod with 4 for 95, even with Darnell Mooney back in the mix. This was his first game back. Just 3 catches for 20 yards. Drake London, though, man, 16 of the 39 pass attempts went Drake London's way. So that's just a monster target afternoon. That cannot continue to happen where you have Kyle Pitts only getting 2 targets and Drake London 16. That is not going to it's just not efficient. And, London, nice day, 9 for 86. That's solid. but I would expect Pitts to get more targets this next week. All right. Over to the Charger side of the ball, and it was Lat McConkey all day, all night till he got hurt. So 9 for 117 for Lad. We'll have to monitor his injury this week to be sure he's ready to go for this week's big games. Um, After that, not much going on the ground for the Chargers this week. Gus, only 6 carries. They took advantage of the Atlanta turnovers, so they didn't have to gain a whole lot of yards with all the turnovers. They ended up with 3 field goals, a touchdown, and a 2-point conversion. That's how they got to 17 in a roundabout way. But yeah, Herbert with nothing special today. But I'll show you somebody have a special game, and that would be both Joe Burrow and Russell Wilson in this wild one in Cincinnati. Highest scoring game ever in this rivalry. First half was just nuts. It was 27-21 Pittsburgh at the half. And let's look at the final stats here. Burrow finished with 309, 3 touchdowns and a pick. Chase Brown scored on a long touchdown run, finished with 70 yards on the day, 30 through the air, so he got hit the century mark. Jamar Chase and Higgins both getting it done. 6 for 86 for Chase with a touchdown, 5 for 69 for Higgins and a touchdown, 10 and 9 targets respectively for those two. Man, Yoshivas got in the end zone. This was just back and forth all day long. For the Steelers, George Pickens doing George Pickens things. Man, is there another player in the NFL with just as much insanity and having as much fun out there as George Pickens? I mean, God, I don't know if there's another more exciting player to own right now. I mean, do I condone his behavior? No, but if I could go out there and have fun like that, 3 for 74 and a touchdowns for Pickens. Russ, as I mentioned, monster day, 414 yards, 3 touchdowns and a pick. Najee found pay dirt, 16 for 75. Jalen Warren, not much on the ground, but did finish with 4 for 55 through the air. Najee also had 6 for 54 through the air. So a nice, solid afternoon for Najee. The Muth got loose and into the end zone as he squiggled his way through the Bengals secondary there on the touchdown. I finished 6 for 68 and the touchdown. Calvin Austin, for those of you in deeper leagues or best ball, he did leave with a concussion, so monitor that. All right. What do we got next here? From Sunday's games. Sure, why not? Let's hit this one up. Trevor Lawrence back in action and didn't last long as what's his name? Aziz Al-Shahir from Houston just smacked him upside the head when T-Law was sliding. And yes, he was suspended 3 games for it. Apologized, but man, I've seen some of this guy's hits, and I don't want to call him Vontez Perfect, but yikes, this guy's a little dangerous. Anyway, Mac Jones came in and was very efficient. So if you had T-Law and Mac Jones is available in your league, like I said, with 6 teams on bye, go ahead and play Mac Jones. I don't mind it. He finished 20 for 32, 235, 2 touchdowns, and no picks. I mean, the Houston defense is no slouch. So that was pretty solid. The Jags run game kind of leaving something to be desired. Travis Etienne, not exactly what people were hoping for this offseason when going after him. Um, if you want to buy low in a rebuild, I guess. Eh, but I'm not with this rookie class coming out. I would rather roll the dice on on one of the rookies is in this 25 rookie class coming out. Tank Bigsby 7 for 28 only. Big news here was Parker Washington 6 for 103 and a touchdown. I'm sure he's available on some of your waiver wires out there. So don't be afraid to go grab him with Christian Kirk out. Parker Washington definitely sliding into that role right now. Brian Thomas did find pay dirt 4 for 76, and Evan Ingram caught 7 balls for 41 yards. Over to the Texans side, CJ Stroud with a quiet, efficient 242 and a touchdown. Joe Mixon doing what he's done just about every week, it seems. 101 yards and a touchdown for Mixon. Nico Collins showing us why he is one of the top 6 or 7 receivers in the league right now. 8 for 119 on 11 targets. So a monster target share, 11 targets out of 34 attempts is, roughly not quite 33%, but it's close enough. It's over 30%. I can figure that math. All right. Dalton Schultz having a day, 5 for 61 with a touchdown. Tank Dell, not so much. Tank, these are the kind of weeks you're gonna get with Tank Dell. Next week he could catch 2 touchdowns, but this week wasn't his day. So, I mean, I think this Texans offense has pretty much shown that they're gonna run through Joe Mixon, and that's what they want to do. That's how they want to get victories, and it's working for them. They're leading the division, and CJ Stroud he's not playing fantasy football. He's trying to win games. So for those of you who bought in on the overpriced asset that was CJ Stroud in this offseason, I feel for you because he's a solid quarterback. He doesn't look terrible at all. It's just a matter of the guy doesn't run. I mean, 5 for 7 yards, you can see right there. He's not electric running the ball at all. Uh, and then throwing wise, those who bought in on it were buying in on the trio of Diggs, Dell, and Collins. And all we've got now is Collins and a little bit of Dalton Schultz. So that's not going to get it done. So I don't know if there's a way to pivot off of Stroud now that makes sense. You probably constructed your team where he's your top quarterback now, so you just kind of roll with it, and it's not so bad. I mean, he's what, 22, 23 years old, so you've got plenty of years going forward. Just construct around him. You're gonna have a solid asset there at quarterback, 4 years. That's what you bought. I don't, he's definitely not the QB3 as he was listed much of this offseason, but hey, still going to benefit from having him on your roster. All right. Let's move on here. Next up, we'll talk. Yeah, let's hit up Mr. Rogers' neighborhood and the JETS Jets with another LOSS. Yikes. I don't know. What do y'all think out there? I mean, are we going to see Rodgers? I don't want to say get benched, but sit. I don't know, man. I know he wants to play next year. Don't know if he wants to play for the Jets. So this is just an interesting story to monitor. Rodgers on Sunday, 185, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Those 2 touchdowns went to Devontae Adams and Isaiah Davis out of the backfield. Brees Hall, I mean, what is going on here? 12 for 60, and then just one target. Like, why is Isaiah Davis getting 3 for 28 and a touchdown? I don't I be honest, I didn't watch this game, so I'd love any insight as to how this came about. Um, but Devontae Adams got home 5 for 66 on a touchdown. Garrett Wilson did not, 5 for 41 only. So things will be interesting this offseason in the Meadowlands. Let's just say that. Whether Rodgers returns, if he doesn't, will Adams be there? Probably not. So then it's the Garrett Wilson show again. The Jets just they can't get it right with Brees Hall and Aaron Rodgers. They can't figure things out. It's just a real frustrating thing. I'm more frustrated because I traded for Brees Hall in 2 leagues over the last month. It wasn't exactly cheap, so I'm hoping for them to turn things around and play spoiler in a good way over the next month. That would be awesome. All right. So I wouldn't put too much into the Isaiah Davis performance here. You still have Braylon Allen there. He did get 5 carries, only 11 yards, 2 for 16 through the air. So this is just like I don't understand it. Anyway, over to the Seahawks side of things, you got JSN leading the receivers with 74 yards. Now, if you look at the target share, though, JSN only had 4 targets, catching all of them, but DK did have 9 targets with just 4 catches for 66 yards. So a little interesting there, as JSN had dominated the previous 2 weeks. Now DK is back. I think this is just simply a 1A and 1B situation right now. But it's good for the Seahawks as a team. Not great for your DK owners. JSN, obviously, his owners are happy. So I would just expect 50-50 up top with them. Tyler Lockett has been completely non-existent this year. So as long as Gino keeps playing efficiently, 20 for 31, a little low on the pass attempts end for him, as this season he's gone over 40 attempts many a times. Kenneth Walker, only 16 for 49 in a victory like this is definitely disappointing. Look for him to bounce things back here. They'll try to establish him against Arizona next week in a big divisional matchup. Zach Charbonnet there stole a touchdown, finished with 28 yards. And yes, we will move on from that one. Okay. I would not be concerned that much as a Kenneth Walker owner. I know he hasn't done amazing, but this next month, look for it to pop, in my opinion. All right. Somebody who popped on Sunday is Jaden Daniels. Whew. 3 touchdowns through the air, ran one in. The Commanders just steamrolled the Titans here. Everybody but Nick Westbrook-Ikeen, of course, because that guy doesn't know how to do anything but catch touchdowns. Like, what is up with NWI? Man. Same with Terry McLaurin here, as he added another 2 touchdowns, 8 for 73 through the air. Brian Robinson back in a big way, 103 yards on the ground. Even Chris Rodriguez once again doing things, 13 for 94 and touchdown. So the Commanders backfield, no matter who it is, they are getting things done. And now with B-Rob back in the action, you can confidently start him weekly. Over on the Titans side of things, Pollard couldn't get it going, just 8 for 35 on the day. Will Levis under 50% there. So he didn't throw any interceptions, but man, that's just not going to cut it. Only 2 for 45 for Ridley. As I mentioned, Nick Whisper-Keen led the way with 3 grabs, but if you look at the targets there, you got 5 catches between the two top target earners and 5 catches on 15 targets. That is not going to get it done for the mailman there. He's going to have to bounce back next week as they are they on? No, they're not on bye. The Titans are taking on Jacksonville. Yes, Jacksonville. So interesting fantasy and divisional matchup there. Um, not for any kind of playoff implications in the NFL, but more so like draft position, honestly. But it's interesting for us and our fantasy teams nonetheless with Jacksonville and Tennessee because some definite contributors on those teams. Calvin Ridley, I would still say I'm pretty confident in playing. Nick Westbrook-Ikeen, I mean, in your deeper leagues, you can flex him all day now if he's going to score a touchdown every week. But yeah, Tyjae Spears kind of falling off the map here with Tony Pollard sort of taking command of that backfield. All right. Not much else with that game. It was Commanders all day. Uh, yeah, let's head over to Minnesota where Kyler took his Cardinals into town. Couldn't quite pull it off, and the Vikings get out of there, squeeze out another victory somehow. Sam Darnold doing it again. 21 of 31, 235, 2 touchdowns, no picks, 7 for 99 out of Jay Jettas, and didn't get in the end zone, but still a solid afternoon for Jefferson. Jordan Addison leaving something to be, this is what you're getting with Jordan Addison, 4 for 54. Next week, he could go 3 for 85 and 2 touchdowns. I mean, if you own Addison, you've got to have him as like your fourth or fifth wideout, and you just got to kind of play him because otherwise you're going to miss out on his big games. Aaron Jones, rough day, but did squeak out a touchdown receiving to save it. Only 5 for 22 on the ground. They couldn't get anything going on the ground there, could the Vikings? But TJ Hawkinson, neither, just 3 for 28. But Hawkinson, I think, could bounce back here this last month. Over to Arizona, Kyler, 31 of 45 for 260 and a touchdown to Marv, a beautiful one in the corner of the end zone, but had 2 interceptions, and those were costly. James Conner showing it is his backfield, 17 for 68. Kyler added 48 yards on the ground. And now to the receivers, and this is where I want to talk some Trey McBride. McBride, 12 targets, 12 catches, 96 yards, 0 touchdowns once again. This guy, Trey McBride, I don't know. He's the number 3 tight end, no touchdowns. So he's a target hog of the most insane nature. And he is just great in between the 20s. So is he a difference maker at that position? Yes. Okay. He is definitely a top 3 tight end. I mean, personally, I'd probably put him right there behind Bowers. And but man, it's rough if the guy would just get in the end zone once in a while. I mean, I know that a lot of people are going to say he's going to he's going to have that positive regression, right? Which makes it just annoys me whenever I hear it. Positive regression, like that is not learn English, people. That is not how you say it. He's going to progress. He's going to have progress. He's going to score more touchdowns. It's not positive regression. Regression is going down. Drives me nuts. Anyway, enough about that. Trey McBride isn't going to score a lot of touchdowns. We'll put it that way. What he is going to do is get a lot of receptions, and he's going to average seven or eight catches. That's just the way it is. He's just under 100 targets on the season, 73 catches, I believe. Um, so yeah, he's just going to target hog, and Marv's going to have to deal with it. But there's nothing wrong with 5 for 60 and a touchdown. I mean, yeah, Marv hasn't had that big blow up game yet, but guy's just a rookie. If you drafted Marv, don't fret, people. He is still a top 10 dynasty wide receiver. He is still right up there with the big boys. I mean, I don't know if I was putting Marv right up with Nico Collins, who I'd rather have. Marv's younger. Nico's putting up more, so I guess Nico right now. It's easy to say, but um, who knows? Next week against Seattle, Marv could go nuts for 2 touchdowns, right? Yeah, that's all I gotta say on the Cardinals. Although, did want to, yeah, let's do it. Um, I gotta hunt it down here. We gotta trade. We gotta trade with Kyler, and I just wanted to show it all to you because there we go. I'm gonna bring it up here. It's on the side of the page here, so bear with me. But you can see it there. Okay. So we've got light it up just a hair. There. Okay. That's better. There we go. So we had Allen getting 227 firsts and a third for Kyler and a 27 fourth. So we can, I mean, for the process of crossing things off, I say the third and fourth you can just get rid of. So basically Kyler for 227 firsts. So the firsts are 2 years out, but when you look at it from the perspective that, like, what do we got for the standings here? I just want to. Okay, Foss Boss is contending in this one, so he's 16-10. We play a median game in this league, but he's already got Purdy and Mayfield, and now you throw Kyler into the mix. Like, it's gonna be tough to slide Kyler. I mean, now you're creating an issue for yourself every week. Who do you start? Because you know what happens when you try and play the matchups, especially with quarterbacks. Like I said, with Jameis to lead off the show, you can't just play the matchups all the time. Like the Browns didn't give a shit. They just went right at the Denver strength of their defense because it was their strength of their offense. And like with Baker on his team, do you think Tampa's not going to throw the ball? I don't care that Bucky Irving is tearing it up and they only have Mike Evans. They're still going to throw the ball. Okay. That's what Liam Cohen does. He came from the Rams offense, Sean McVay. They throw the ball. Okay. If a team throws the ball, you want their quarterback in there. That's why Sam Darnold is being successful this year. That's why Winston's successful right now. That's why Joe Flacco was successful last year because he's just slinging it. And that's what Baker's doing. And he's got a favorable schedule going forward. I know that Bucky's going to put up some yards on the ground, but their run game is feeding off of the pass. That's how it's working in Tampa. All right, even without Godwin. Now, I'm surprised that it's working. To be truthful, I thought once Godwin went down, our season was completely shot. And to be completely fair, our chances of whatever getting to the Super Bowl, they're not, it's not going to happen without Chris Godwin. Let's just say that. Like we could somehow win one playoff game, maybe, but I don't want to talk about Tampa all day long. I could all night with you all, but I think I've made my point, and maybe Matt tomorrow will want to hear more about it, right? Because I know he's got Bucky on the team or two. All right, so um, let's get back to the games here. We only got a few more to go. And any more Sunday games? I don't think so. I don't think I missed any. No. All right, so let's go all the way back. Yes. All the way back to Friday. Can you remember Friday? How you were feeling after Aiden O'Connell dropped the ball and it was just insane what happened there at the end of the Kansas City Las Vegas game. Almost said Oakland there. The Raiders Chiefs just with another blow your mind game. And of course, the Chiefs get the questionable ref decision call in their favor one more time. Shocking, right? This was a typical divisional game. So where in spite one team having a insanely better record than the other, the Raiders hung around, and they had the game right there and just let it slide through their hands. So I know that the ref probably made the wrong call, but the Raiders still they brought it upon themselves. We'll put it that way. So anyway, let's get to the fantasy points of this. And this was Brock Bowers all day long. Got a touchdown, 10 for 140. I mean, I don't know. What would you give up for Brock Bowers in, let's say, just a normal 12 team start 10, 1.5 per catch touchdown tight end league? I mean, are you going over two firsts? Are you giving like two firsts and Kate Otten, two firsts and Dallas Goddard? Are you doing two firsts and Kyle Pitts? How how much are you willing to go? Because in a think about this in a start one tight end league, right? If you're trading for Brock Bowers, what do you need Kyle Pitts for? What do you need Dallas Goddard for? What do you need Kate Otten for? You don't need them anymore, right? So you can package them up into the deal. So I just want you to keep this in mind when you're going into the off season here and the narratives get crazy with tight ends and you're going to see this division amongst the top 7 or 8 tight ends. This last year the top 7 or 8 tight ends were sort of jumbled all together, right? And then you had where you had 7 or 8. You could say George Kittle was on the bottom of that tier, and then Brock Bowers was right there as well. Depending on where you had Bowers, if you were higher on him, I had him probably dynasty tight end 4 or 5, right? But uh, in like redraft, Bowers was down further. He was at like tight end 9, we'll say. Obviously, he's outdone himself, and now he's going to go on into this offseason with a shitload of hype. So, what do you want to do with the tight end situation is something you're going to be forced to ask yourself with your teams. And it starts up top with what do you think of Brock Bowers and Trey McBride? Because if you think that they are this much better than everybody else, where versus like that much better, if they're way up here, then everybody else sort of gets jumbled together. Like it's almost, you know, sure Kittle's had a great year, right? But he's shown himself human the last couple of weeks. And then Kelsey's sort of the same way. He's older, but still producing in different weeks. He's going to be a year older next year. So is Kittle. So is Ingram. So and then where do you put Dalton Kincaid into this mix, right? So those are just some of the things going on in my head right now about the tight end position. I'm not totally set on how I feel about it going into this off season yet. I got to think about it more. Right now, I'm pretty happy with my teams. If I don't own Kincaid or McBride, I'm totally fine with any of the other next 7 or 8 tight ends, honestly. And you can even throw. I know Goddard just got hurt, but you could have thrown Goddard into the mix because he's had a decent season as well. Um, but again, I don't know if Goddard's going to finish top 10. Like the dude's never finished top 10 at tight end. That's his problem. Like he has no big ceiling because you've got the extreme efficiency in the red zone of guys like Jalen Hurts running it in. Now Saquon Barkley and AJ Brown, all of them are targeted or out touching Dallas Goddard in the red zone, and that kills his potential. So, just my thought on Dallas Goddard. I don't love the guy, but I'm stuck with him somehow on a few of my teams. Um, all right, back to the Chiefs Raiders. Interesting note here with the Chiefs receivers. There's Kelsey getting 13 targets, Hopkins 9. Xavier Worthy, though, here. It's 4 straight games over 45 yards. So are we ready to see a rookie year pop this last month? I don't know that I'd bet on that. Hopkins, Hopkins getting some. Let me bring up the game for you guys so you see what I'm talking about. Here's the target share right here. Hopkins 9, Kelsey 13, Noah Gray with 6, and then Worthy with 7. So those are definitely, you've got a full flush here of 4 guys. Now, note 46 pass attempts for Mahomes. That hasn't happened all season. So Chiefs are obviously, sorry. Chiefs are trying to work Pacheco back in, get him some touches, but not dump 25 carries onto the guy already. They want him there for the playoffs, right? So expect Kareem Hunt to still get a decent amount of touches. Something similar to this week where he had 7 inefficient touches, but still there and keeping them off of Pacheco for now. Because, the Chiefs, yeah, they want to make everybody come through Kansas City, but if they don't, they're not afraid to go out there and try and win in another team's stadium in the playoffs. So they're just going to make sure Pacheco's healthy. The Raiders side of the ball, back to their backfield, which, with Madison and Zamir White out, it was Sincere McCormick leading the way with 12 for 64. Amir Abdullah added 10 for 39 and 2 for 14 through the air. So Sincere McCormick, definitely probably available out on your waiver wire. Check out him. You can't argue with 12 for 64 against the Chiefs defense. So that in mind, just throwing it out there for you. He's somebody to look for, right? Because, dude, these guys, late season running backs out of nowhere is not a new thing. Okay. Think Sam Congato. Think, uh, who is it? uh, Duke Johnson. Think, I mean, it's just every other season there's a major blow up for like 2, 3 straight weeks of some no name that came off of a practice squad or whatever. And that's the roll of the dice with the running back position. You have to stay active on the waiver wire, even in dynasty leagues like the Sincere McCormick. I drafted the guy uh, when he was a rookie last year. I liked him as a late round flyer, right? Fourth round. But hey, I needed room on my taxi squad this year for my new rookies. And, Sincere hadn't done a damn thing. So time to go, Sincere. But now all of a sudden he pops up here in week 13 and he could help y'all win a playoff game. And you think it's funny, but I'm not kidding. Like if you had Christian McCaffrey or some other running back that's been injured and you're struggling, like, dude, why not? There's no reason he couldn't. There's no reason he couldn't duplicate this with 12 for 64 and fall into the end zone once or twice next week against Tampa, and boom, you're at over 15 points. So you gotta just trust that the volume is going to be there, and then go with it. I don't expect Brock Bowers to run the ball though much more than this 1 for 2. Just keep that in mind. They do want to get him the ball as much as possible, but he ran the ball back at Georgia. But yeah, I'm just saying he might be their best running back, Brock Bowers, but he's not going to get the most attempts. All right, that's enough about that game. I digress. Do I like saying that? I digress. I hate hearing that almost as much as regress, positive regression, positive regression. All right. Do we really want to talk Miami, Green Bay? Other than the tweet that came out that was saying that Mike McDaniel's basically a pussy for shivering in the cold while he's coaching, standing there. I mean, come on, guys. Some of these tweets that go out, you gotta take with a grain of salt. That one for sure. Anyway, they were saying that the locker room was divided now because their head coach is a shivering wuss, essentially. The guy weighs like a buck 25, and it was 15 degrees there in Green Bay. Of course, he's going to be cold. Jeez. All right. Anyway, Tua, not a bad, like, fantasy wise. Hell yeah. 37 for 46, 365, 2 touchdowns, no picks. I'll take it. Dolphins didn't get a win, but and Tua still never won a game in under 45 degrees. But if he's going to do that, I'm all good with that. No rushing upside, of course, with Tua, but I'll take the 365 and 2 touchdowns. Raheem Mostert back leading the way in the Dolphins backfield with 5 for 19. Yeah. Now, Devon Achane did get into the end zone with 8 for 56 through the air and a touchdown. Tyreek, 6 for 83 and a touchdown. And Jonnu Smith just continues to be the guy. He is him. He is the tight end, late tight end, not Taysom Hill anymore. It is Jonnu Smith. If you've got him, rock him. Got to play him. All right. It's no longer Tucker Kraft. Tucker Kraft was just 6 for 78. Jonnu Smith was 10 for 113, right? Now, I still love you, Tucker. Tucker Kraft is going to be consistent. There is just a lot of mouths to feed there in Green Bay. And Jaden Reed did get into the end zone twice, so saved his day. Josh Jacobs, just 43 yards rushing, but did have 74 on the ground or through the air on the back of a 49-yarder. So over 100 total yards for Jacobs and a touchdown. Jordan Love with a simply efficient 21 to 28, 274, and two touchdowns. As I said, spread it around well with Romeo Dubs out with a concussion. So watch for that going forward again with all of the buys. Dobbs is definitely you could consider starting this week if he's back in action. All right. Yes. Moving along here. We got just the earlier games from Turkey Day. Let's run through this Dallas New York Giants game. Now, this one was quietly entertaining, as ugly as it seemed it would be early on, with Drew Lock versus Cooper Rush, but somehow you put the NY logo up against the star, and we got a ball game, right? Tyron Tracy shaking off that fumble benching from the previous week. Not a whole lot of yards, just 32 on the ground, but added 33 through the air, got in the end zone. So a decent game for him. Malik Neighbors, 8 for 69, so still getting plenty of targets, even with Drew Lock in there. We'll see who's starting next week. I don't know. I mean, if I'm a Neighbors owner, which I am in a couple leagues, I prefer Lock out there. I think he's got just a more of a more live arm. So, Neighbors can run more routes with Drew Lock in there. So Neighbors owners hope that Drew Lock plays. I don't know that you can bench him either way. So you got to be in a real shallow league to be able to bench Malik Neighbors at this point. Interesting on the Dallas side of the ball with Rico Dowdle, 112 yards. Not something I trust, but again, with all the buys, if you got to play him, you got to play him. They're playing the Bengals at home on Monday night, which kind of scares me because the Bengals are the kind of team that could actually absolutely just annihilate them. But then it's the Bengals, and the way the Bengals are playing this year, I don't know that either of these teams can hold each other under 40. So, yeah, look for some fireworks this coming Monday, even with Cooper Rush there. Hopefully, CeeDee gets into the lineup again. That's something to definitely monitor. CeeDee Lamb basically sat out the second half with an injury, and so yeah, that's the huge thing to take out of this. I don't think Schoonmaker will be startable next week with Jake Ferguson coming back, and Cooper Rush, of course, is just a start. Start him if you need to. All right, because McCarthy's still going to throw the ball, no doubt about that. Now McCarthy at least has survived another week. Something Matt Eberflus did not want to do apparently, because I mean he acted like a guy that just wanted to get fired. I mean, the not calling the timeout and then just saying that was exactly what we wanted to do. Like maybe that was exactly what you wanted to do to test if the McCaskies would finally fire somebody in season, which they did the next day, right after the press conference. But yeah, this is probably best for Caleb Williams. Um, you know, you don't want young quarterbacks seeing turnover after turnover with their coaching staffs, but you could just tell this wasn't working with Eberflus. And so I don't know who they're going to end up bringing in next season, but it can't be worse than what was going on in Chicago. Like these last couple of weeks with the loss here to the Lions, the blocked field goal against the Packers, just there's some bad coaching. And the talent's there. DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Roma Dunze not getting the kind of looks that we want. But again, next year, Keenan Allen most likely won't be there. I think he'll go chase a ring with somebody um, and be whatever number receiver they need him to be. Um, and Adunze will definitely solidify his role better. And hopefully, for their sake, the Bears, that is, for Caleb and Adunze, they do get somebody in there that can actually coach and get them to play good football. Because I want to watch good football. I don't like watching bad football. I don't like screaming at the TV um, about a team that I don't even give a shit about, the Bears, wondering what the hell their coach is doing. So, you know, I'm just gonna end it with that because you all know the Lions were efficient offensively. No shocker, right? We've got a big one coming up Thursday. Start all your Lions, start all your Packers. This should be a high scoring game. It's gonna be fireworks to start off the week 14 matchups. And I will be getting into those more with Matt English when he steps into the birdhouse tomorrow. Hopefully, tomorrow morning, maybe tomorrow afternoon. I don't know what, but you guys will catch it all as I will pump it out for you all week long. Send me your questions at buymeacoffee.com/birdhouse dynasty show. Check out my world class rookie rankings for the 2025 rookie class coming up on my Patreon at patreon.com/birdhouse dynasty show. And remember, especially now, never stop working.